Okay, so the first part of the lab, I have to, first of all, measure out my 2 magnesium strips for the first part. So I need about 3 centimeters, which is right here. So I'm gonna cut that. That's gonna be my first one. And then I need 4 centimeters, that's about good. So that's the second one. The next thing I need to do is weigh these. So I'm gonna put my weigh boat in here. You'll notice that I wrote a 1 on the bottom of my weigh dish, so I know that that's my first trial. I'm gonna zero it out. Then I'm gonna put my magnesium in. So that magnesium weighs 0.063. So that's for the first one. Set that one aside. The second one, put my weigh boat on again. Zero it out. Put the magnesium in. And we would expect it to be almost double, or not double, but a third more, sorry, which it is, 0.096 grams. And then since I'm here at my scale, I'm gonna go ahead and measure out my magnesium oxide as well. So here's for my second procedure. So there's the weigh boat. I'm gonna zero that out. We need about 0.2 grams, the procedure tells us. This is a very fine powder, so it's gonna weigh a little bit too much there, so take some out. Still about half, take about half more out. Still a little bit too much. That's about better. So we're going to do 0.243 grams for the first trial, and for the second trial I'm going to zero this out again. Again, I put too much in. That should be good. Good. 0.220. Okay, now for the next part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 1 molar HCl solution. I'm going to measure out 15 milliliters. It ultimately doesn't matter if you're exactly 15 because we're going to weigh it anyways. So I have about 16 milliliters, and that's fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it into my calorimeter, like so. And I have to make sure my balance is zeroed. And I'm going to weigh it before the reaction. And I get 22.887. Okay, so what you can see now that I have set up here is I have my calorimeter, I have my 4 chemicals that I'm going to react, and I now have the temperature probe into the calorimeter to get the initial temp. And I'm reading 20.3 degrees Celsius. It just went up 1.4 degrees Celsius is the initial temp. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the thermometer through. I need to make sure that it's touching the substance, which it doesn't look like it is, so I need to make this hole a little bit bigger. the thermometer can go all the way to the bottom, because if I'm not measuring the reaction, then what am I doing, right? Okay, and then my stir right here. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is add my first magnesium. And react. So what I'm hearing is bubbles, which indicates a new substance is forming, which is a gas, which is a good thing, right? It means a chemical reaction is happening. Temperature's still going up, so I don't want to take a reading yet. I'm going to check to see the magnesium is not all dissolved yet, so I don't want to take a reading. So I already know some of my error is going to be here. As I'm mixing, some of my HCl is coming out. Magnesium still dissolving. Temperature's still going up, the magnesium's almost dissolved. Okay, temperature is remaining constant, and I'm getting 35.5 degrees Celsius as a final temperature. So this is a very exothermic reaction, right? Okay, so I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to show you how we started with solid magnesium. And if you look in here, there's no more solid present, right? Which indicates that the chemical reaction has occurred. So the next thing I need to do is weigh this to see the final mass of the calorimeter plus the magnesium plus the HCl. So that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, for timing purposes, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of things here. So once I did trial 1, after the reaction, I got 21.528 grams after the reaction, and I went ahead and just started trial 2 as well. So we have to remember that we weighed out 0.096 grams of magnesium. The calorimeter plus the 15 milliliters of HCl is 21.935 grams, and I just took the initial temperature, which is 21.4 degrees Celsius. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the second piece of magnesium in there, and I will come back once it all dissolves and give you a final temp. Okay, now for the second part. But before I move on to the second part, let's take a gander at our new data that has shown up on the board, okay? So the final temperature was 48.2 degrees Celsius after the reaction that I did for trial 2 for procedure 1. And then when I weighed the calorimeter after the reaction happened, I got 22.864 grams after the reaction happened. So now I'm moving on to procedure 2, trial 1. So again, we weighed out 0.243 grams of magnesium oxide. I weighed the calorimeter plus the HCl, so I got 22.803 grams. And the initial temperature of the HCl is 22.8 degrees Celsius. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first trial of magnesium oxide. I'm going to add it to my calorimeter. And again, I hear sizzling. I do want to make a note too that when I was doing the last experiment, I was getting a hint of smell as I was removing the lid off of my calorimeter, which indicates that I was making hydrogen gas, which is good. I mean, not good to smell, but that was what was supposed to happen, right? This one won't take as long since it's a fine solid, so there's more surface area for the HCl to react with, so the reaction's gonna happen much quicker than our magnesium metal. So it looks like it's all dissolved, so now I'm waiting for a stable temperature to take a recording. So it looks like I'm getting 28.9 degrees Celsius. So now I'm going to go weigh the calorimeter and the new reaction. And I get 22.983. 22.983 after the reaction. Okay, and now I'm going to set up the second one. I'll collect the data and then show you the results afterwards. Okay, a couple of things here. So first of all, here is the final data for trial 2. So again, after the reaction for trial 1, I got 22.983 grams of the calorimeter and the final chemical reaction. And then down here for trial 2, okay, I got 21.4 degrees Celsius as the initial temperature, 26.9 degrees Celsius as the final temperature, and then the calorimeter and the chemical reaction after the reaction took place, I got 22.687 after the reaction. One other thing that I want to note for trial 2 here, another source of error that we have is I unfortunately got some of the solid on the side of the calorimeter, and since it's such a fine solid, it kind of stuck to the sides and didn't fully react. So we probably used less than 0.220 grams of magnesium oxide for the second trial. So we'll talk about that when we do the data analysis. All right, thanks y'all.